about it at all, but I think it's clear to see for anyone who was at the game, that we do. The squad needs a little bit of surgery, it needs a little bit of help, for sure.
They need new players. It's a stonewall certainty, Ruffy. They need to get players in that can offer them something different. No harm to the boy Van Veen. He's not going to score, a lot of goals. His movement is not good enough.
Well, I mean, they do pre-season to bring in new players, the same as everybody else. Obviously Graham Alexander was still there, so he's the one that should have been bringing them in. Now, I mean, the window's away, a couple of weeks away, something like that. So if you don't get a new manager in soon as, and then the manager that comes in's got to decide who am I going to go for? Is it, well, we don't know who it is for a start, but is it bringing players up for England? Is it somebody, who's going to handpick players for Scotland? So the sooner they come in, but it's amazing how Hamill all of a sudden is the man, and then they lose a goal in the last minute of a game and he's now the man. It just shows you a predicament you've got to get the right person in. Yeah, but that's only from, and that's what I call the mad punditry of it all. There's people who have knee-jerk reaction on a game-by-game basis for a manager who has one good game and then maybe one bad game, or he has two, and suddenly you thrust him in as the manager and he's got no experience. I mean, it's up to a steady board with a set of people who have got a balanced view on things, Ruffy, as you well know yourself. Sometimes you can look at a manager who's come in and impressed you. Gary Caldwell, I cite, towards Partick Thistle, and then some members of the board want him out and he's gone, and then you have to go and look at somebody else. But with Stephen Hamill, the reason why I think he might still have a shout, and Tam obviously thinks maybe he's blown his chance, is because, Ali, he knows the whole setup, the youth setup, the good players, and as Jim Patterson mentioned last week, Motherwell, he reckons they've got a good batch of young players, but I think they need more experience.
Yeah, I do wonder what the perception will be around Steve Hamill after the first couple of games. I wonder if fans would prefer to go with a more experienced manager, or maybe someone coming in with fresh ideas. I think the situation that he's in, I think you need to make a fairly compelling argument for taking the job on a regular, be a full-time basis. I don't know. I think that I think they might go down a different line.
Yeah. You need to know who's in it. You need to know what names are on the table. Well, you've got to cut it down.
Today, tomorrow, Ruffy, they're looking at the shortlist.
And you've got to interview, and then you weigh up what you've got to Stevie Hamill, and then you decide which way you're going to go. Yeah. If somebody walks into that room and is very impressive, as some of them can be, and talk a good game, and here, this is where I've been, and this is what I do here, and I promote the academy, and they take all these things into consideration. So you've got to have a balance of who you've interviewed and who you've got.
Also finances. I think
but sometimes though,
work within the parameters of your own budget.
Absolutely, that's a good point. You work within your budget, but sometimes, Tam, managers come in and say, yeah, I'm more than willing to work with the youth, but they want a quick fix. They want players in from elsewhere, because you can't wait for players.
No, I don't think it's the time to start throwing young players in it, Motherwell. I think you've got to, Stephen O'Donnell spoke about it, you've got to go and get players in the door, better quality players. Unfortunately, I think that for Stephen and Brian, I think that was a huge game for them on Saturday. I think if they win that, I think they're near enough guaranteed getting the job.
Yeah.
2 wins out of 2, it's very difficult to get away from that. As you come in as an interim manager, you win your 2 games. What a case you put forward to the board, give me the job full time. Couldn't have asked for a better game. St Johnstone struggling. You get them at home and by all accounts they put in a poor performance and get beat, so I think that might have just blown it for Hammy.
Well, interesting. The one thing I would counter, and I've tipped St Johnstone to go down, I'm looking at, they played some nice football. They've got that wee bit of experience. Jamie Murphy scored a good goal. I think if they could somehow, before the window closes, get a couple of options up front. They've got Adam Montgomery on loan from Celtic. He looked good at left back. And I was looking at the squad that played in the game. I think they've got some good players in there. Graham Carey's good. Ryan McGowan's got the experience as well. And Considine at the back just settled that back line. I think St Johnstone have got not a bad squad. There's a couple of players still to come back in. They might actually just scupper my assessment, Ali.
And mine. I think I also feared for St Johnstone because I saw them a few times in the League Cup, and at the start of the season I just didn't see a cohesive unit. But I would agree with you. I do think they have some experience. I still think that they might be toying across the course of the campaign. I think the three names, I think St Mirren, Motherwell and St Johnstone are the three that I think will struggle this season.
Yeah, Ruffy?
Yeah, I think so. I think when you're down there and you're not winning many games, I think it's up to a striker. If you've got a good striker who can get you a goal when it's nothing each or one each or whatever, and when I'm looking at the three of them, you know, obviously St Mirren's two, Brophy and Main, they don't seem to be scoring goals. May come up with a goal at the weekend. So for me, if any of them can get a striker for it's down south or whatever, and he does know where the back of the net is, that could be their saviour.
Yeah, okay. The other game done, United 0, Livingston 1. I mean, for God's sake, man, they've just put on a great performance in midweek, and then they get done by, and I have to say, if you look on YouTube at Christian Montano's goals,
yeah, I've seen it.
Have you seen it?
Yep.
I mean, he hits some rakers when he played for Notts County and other clubs. He looks as if he could be a good player for them.
Yeah, I seen him against Hibs a couple of times last season. I thought he was decent. You know, good left foot, good pace, tricky. You know, and scores a great goal. But Dundee United put in a lot of energy, a lot of effort in that game on Thursday. I expected it. I took a draw in the predictor, but I was very close to putting Livingston to win the game, because I think when you're tired, you're coming off the back of a real gruelling game during the week. The last team you want to play against is Livingston, because they are in your face for 90 minutes. They're a fit team. They'll keep going. They'll defend well if they get a lead. So I wasn't surprised at that result. I thought Dundee United might get a wee hangover. I know Charlie Mulgrew didn't play. I think they left him out to rest him. They've got a lot of experienced players, older players, and I think to go Tuesday, Sunday, Tuesday, you know, big game next week or Thursday, is going to be too difficult for them. So, you know, I think you can give Dundee United a little bit of a pass for that one, because of the effort they put in during the week. Yeah.
Okay. Here's the quick summary of all the scores and the Premiership results in Scotland. How did your team fare? Give us your thoughts in the early part of the season. Long way to go. Aberdeen emphatic winners over St Mirren, who were down to 10 men. St Johnstone with a late show from Stevie May. Delighted to see Stevie get the goal. I do think he needs a bit of support. Rangers, Morelos back. Kent fit and available for the game against Union. Ibrox could be rocking. Can they get to the next stage of playing Monaco or PSV, and then into the group stages of the Champions League? Give us your thoughts. Celtic with Jota, as ever, building up his assists, and Abada chipping in with a wonder strike up there at Dingwall, and then the late show from Martin Boyle, and of course we just talked about Christian Montano. And here's how it all shapes up, guys, when we now suddenly we get a bit of humility, Ruffy, because the table has changed, as I thought it would, because I dare I say it, and I'm going to say it now, on Monday the 8th of August, Ali last season was just a flash in the pan, Ruffy. McManus has hit the front. How do you feel, Tam? You're top of the table.
Well, obviously last season I got off to a poor start the season before I won it. So, you know, form's temporary, class is permanent, as they say. And I've got a handy lead, and I'm not looking at Alison. The only person I'm looking up there is you, who I am 19 points ahead of. Because I don't care if I win, I just don't want to finish 6th.
Yeah, Tam's on 30, Alison, Ruffy and myself on 25, and then it's Tam Cowan on 17 and Hugh McDonald on 11.
Does Hugh go for a draw for the Rangers game?
Yes.
He might be in relegation bother already.
I think Hugh's just decided, Ali,
he wants to buy everyone a meal, doesn't he?
He does. I've got that many checks coming in through the post. I'll take everybody out for a meal, which interestingly enough, we're really going to have to pin down Cowan, because he's sauntering.
He's not been on the show since
that's the other thing. He's sauntering about his big, what do you call it? What do you call those things? Winnebago. And, you know, petrol and diesel is dear at the moment, so I think he's spending quite a lot of the money, Ruffy, that he could be taking us out for a really nice meal.
He's promised he'll throw some dates out there that are available.
Just out of curiosity, and you've been here for 10 years, Ruffy, does the rat come with us? Is he allowed to go, because he started the predictor?
Which one?
Is Gabs allowed to come with us?
If he started it, yes.
I thought he was giving Tam half the money. He's went quiet on that one.
No, absolutely. I think Gabs has got to come along, Tam. Is that fair?
Yeah, get to that one. He is a rodent as
I'm
well.
just wondering if Alison wants to mention any other rats.
Yeah, who are the other ones, Ali? We didn't know about any other rats. Who are they? Name names.
I think you've got a few new faces.
Yeah, absolutely. Journo decides to batter us. Brilliant. Anyway, apart from anything else, how are you faring in the predictor when you're picking your scores on the other teams in the league? We're going to go all the way through the season on that and see where we finish up. The loser takes everybody else out for a meal. I've got a trophy, Ruffy.
Another one. Is Alison keeping that one?
Alison's keeping that one because it's got her name on it, for God's sake. You know, I mean, there's no point in taking it off you, Ali. And it's on the mantelpiece. So
Ruffy's going to charge her for it.
Predictor's good. It's always good to get your thoughts on it. Listen, we've got to talk about the English Premier League. It started, and the one thing that's screaming out at me is there are two people that I am going to watch religiously throughout that whole campaign. Erling Haaland, who is just frightening, Ruffy, and I also think the boy Nunez at Liverpool is going to be the real deal as well.
Yeah, I thought Haaland was just magnificent, you know, just the power. He's everything that Hugh told us he was, you know, a unit with pace, you know.
The blind squirrel things are not now and again.
It is.
Sorry, Hugh.
But no, I mean, we saw at the weekend there that this guy's the real deal. And obviously if he can stay fit, I'm sure he'll get a few goals as well. I'm keeping my eye on the boy Maguire. I think he's still got something to offer at Man United.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
What is it?
Nothing.
Welbeck, oh my God, the nightmares about him.
I have to say, Ali, Manchester United, you know, see if you look back in the history, if you look back at their history, Ali, when Sir Matt Busby decided that, you know, he'd had enough, he'd really put in a shift for United, could have won it, I would suggest in 1958, then 5 years later rebuilds a squad, and then eventually another 5 years later in 1968 wins the European Cup. And then you just look at history repeating itself, because after that it was like, you know, Wilf McGuinness, they'd gone through Tommy Docherty, there were so many different managers, Ron Atkinson. It was just non-stop trying to replace a legend who understood what it was like to build a club. Ferguson's the same now, and even Fergie's about to come on the board the way Sir Matt did, so it's the ghosts of great managers past. Ten Hag has got a big job. I think he needs to get rid of the entire back four. They're rank rotten. I
think it's not going to be done overnight. I think he was always going to need a substantial amount of time and money to rebuild that squad and that side. I think it will take more than one window. I think it's a huge job that he's got in his hands to try and restore Man United to the kind of position that they've enjoyed previously.
I think when you look at Man United's team, how many of Man United's team would get into Man City's team, Chelsea's team, Liverpool's team or Spurs' team? I was talking about it yesterday with my mates. Many Man United players would get into any of their teams.
Well, none of them. That's
your top four. That'll be your top four, I think, and there's no Man United player would get into their team.
No, it's not even on the bench either. I'm looking at. I still think Ronaldo will go, Ruffy. I think he'll get a move out at the last minute. And I mean, they're talking about Arnautovic coming in, which is a player at the twilight of his career. Not that that's a bad thing. Man United have had players at the twilight of their career come in and set the heather on fire, but you know, Ronaldo just wants to have one more tilt at the Champions League. I think he'll be gone before that window closes, unless something drastic changes at United.
Well, it doesn't look as if it is happening behind the scenes. There don't seem to be any communication. Obviously, there will be dialogue between the two, and I'm sure if Ronaldo says, I don't want to be here, then he's not going to keep him. Yeah,
and then, you know, we always pick, you know, teams, Ali, that we think are going to be there. Man City will be there, Liverpool, Chelsea will be there. If you're looking for a fourth surprise, is it coming from London? Is it an Arsenal or a Tottenham?
Yeah, I think both look decent just now. I think it's about sustainability. You know, it's such a grueling league. I think Spurs would maybe be the one for me this season. I think they've recruited quite well, but I think it's a really difficult league to call. I think there's so many. When you look at the quality within the top 6, 7 sides, it's just it's staggering. And when you look at the way the top clubs have reinvested, there's someone like Haaland coming in and Nunez, who you mentioned, I just think Yeah, I think the quality is exceptional.
Yeah, for Brighton to defeat Manchester United opening day of season at Old Trafford.
And deservedly so.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's frightening as well. Ten Hag himself reckons that it was just poor passing that cost them.
We trained quite well, and I think, we make passing mistakes in building up, and so that is nothing to do with either you play with a false 9 or you're playing with a typical number 9.
Well, I don't know, he's got a major job in his hands, a major rebuilding, hasn't he, Ruffy?
Yeah, he needs to identify some, maybe 2 or 3 real quality players, you know, and when I say quality players, I know he's got Ronaldo there, but he needs a real quality striker. You know, I know the striker's been there 2 or 3 years, but they've not done anything. So I always say teams like Man United should have a top-class centre-half and a top-class striker, and that's a start.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not sure you were talking about them in the top 7 either, were you?
I think they're going to struggle. I think on the next few weeks will be important. I think if they can do some business in the transfer window, it might make the difference, but I think the evidence that you've seen from the opening weekend would suggest a toil. Yeah,
absolutely. Steven Gerrard, didn't see that one coming, did you?
No, poor result, and we got pressure on them. They spent a lot of money at Aston Villa.
2 wins in 12.
Their fans will be expecting him to be up pushing for the top 8, I would think, and his recent record, as you said, 2 wins out of 12, not good enough, so it's under a wee bit of P.
Yep, absolutely. Always good to talk football with the guys. Don't forget, we will discuss tomorrow in the company of Hugh McDonald. Rangers against Union at Ibrox. Kerry Pollock will be out there just giving us a little preview of that match as well. It's a big night for Rangers. And everybody's talking about the huge financial implications of it all, Ruffy. Getting past Union is of paramount importance, and then one more game with two legs obviously, but one more hurdle to get over to try and get to the group stage. It's massive tomorrow night.
That is massive, and I'm sure the players will appreciate how massive it is. It's not only massive for them, but it's massive for the whole of Scottish football as well. We want to see our clubs progressing in Europe and bringing more and more money into the game. So I really hope they do get through.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, hopefully you can join us for that. Hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel. Don't forget, you can hit the bell as well and get all the notifications. If you download the app, you'll get all the breaking football stories north and south of the border in European and world football as well. And if you hit submissions, you can get a chance to contribute by posting as a message. We try and read out as many of the messages as possible. I did read out Harry's absolutely battering me, but also this one from Dave Smith, who says, Peter, I thought the SPFL had banned live streaming of games because they say COVID is now behind us. I'm sure smaller teams, which Dave is a fan of, have fans that are unable to attend but willing to pay a relative fee to see their favourite team live. Surely a good portion of that revenue filters down to the clubs. Does banning the features, this feature show, is it forward thinking, says Dave? Every pound counts. It's an interesting one, Ruffy. A lot of people don't make it to games. Can you, the clubs would say, can you take that chance between affecting the overall crowd by giving someone, for example, a chance to buy a game for a tenner?
But it's an interesting one for the teams who aren't on Sky. You know, particularly our division. No, we're not on that.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. I'll ask Jerry Britton. Do we still get involved in the cut, and how are we? You know, we stream abroad. You know, we've got a lot of fans abroad.
Yeah.
And people, as you say, who can't go to the games. You know, it's a big avenue for them as well. So it's an interesting one. You know, how it all gets divvied up.
Yeah. Sky want to protect their investment here, which is understandable.
I think I'm sure that every survey ever done has shown that streaming the game live actually doesn't have an effect on attendance figures.
Yeah,
I think it's a sensible move. I think there's always people who can't get to games who would pay to watch it, even if it's a season pass or something like that.
Yeah.
That you watch it on a streaming service. I think it's common sense.
The problem some of the clubs had last season, I'm just talking from Hibs' point of view, so Hibs gave every season ticket holder last season free Hibs TV because of the streaming. So what you were finding was people just couldn't be bothered going to the game and would just watch it in the house. So I don't know if that's the same with other clubs, if you know that includes in a season ticket or whatever it is, they get the Thistle TV or Wraith Rovers TV,
Yeah.
that they can just actually sit and watch it rather than going to the game. And it was affected the crowds at Hibs big time last year. There's hardly anybody going to the game, and they were announcing the season tickets, 13,000, 14,000. I was sitting going, there's no way that's here. You know, and so that's just talking from a purely from a Hibs point of view, but other teams probably the same. But supporters are getting that included.
I think it's picked up this year at Hibs because it's not the same people who did it last year. No. It's other people that are in. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, it's a lot funnier, by the way. There's not as many puns. You know, a lot just really good fresh gags. Anyway, apart from anything else, it's very difficult as you're finding out, as I found out to my cost writing columns. It's difficult to balance it when you want to give your opinion.
I've got a big weight off my shoulder now. I can write what I want and what I feel.
You can get that baseball bat out.
I don't even look at my phone on a Wednesday.
Exactly. The only problem is you lose friends, Ali, along the way, don't you? Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, on that point, thankfully we're all still pals. Ruffy and Tam will be back with us on Wednesday. Whether they'll have trousers on, we can only pray for rain. It's as simple as that. Thanks to Ali, to Ruffy and to Tam McManus. Hit the subscribe button, join us on our YouTube channel, and of course don't forget, download the app. And thank you to the thousands upon thousands of people listening to us in the podcast, thoroughly enjoying it, passing on the messages as well. It's good sometimes, get the old pods in, go for a walk with the dog, listen and see if you can pick up on some of the gags that Tam is trying to sneak into our show on a regular basis. If you're struggling to find out where they are, there's just a little bit of tumbleweed after every gag. You'll be able to hear it. On that note, from Tam, Ruffy, from Ali and myself, thanks for watching.